All right, good evening, everyone, and welcome back to my channel. OMG, I've been having a hard time with my platforms, so I'm sorry for the long wait, but here we are. It's the launch of Business Thursdays, and our topic for tonight is all about the most difficult members of the workforce, which is the millennials. Is that true? So we'll find out more about them later on. And don't worry, I'm also a millennial. So don't take this against me because I'm also a member of the millennial workforce. So anyway, according to statistics, 80%, I think 80%, if I'm not mistaken, 80% of the workforce is already composed of the millennials. So, have you worked with them? Are you working with them? Or are you one of them? So, tonight, that's all about the millennials. And again, we'd like to greet everyone a very happy Thursday. It's almost the weekend, and I hope you are having a really great, productive, and happy week despite of some lockdowns across the Philippines. And also, I'd like to greet those who are in the audience. Hello. Andyan ka na, thank God. Nakarating ka na naman sa nakarating ka na naman sa channel ko, sir. Andyan ka. Ayan, tadan, hi. Thank you, thank you. And of course, I'd also like to greet the ones who are watching via replay. Thank you so much. We can see you and hopefully we can hear from you as well. Just post your comments even though we are already offline or I'm already offline. You can definitely post your comments on the comment section, and you will also we will also be reading your comments even though I'm already offline. So just post your comments there, share your experiences, and if you have any questions, you can also post them there. I will do my best to answer them. Hi, Mark. Thank you so much for tuning in. Hi. Thank you. We are going to talk about the millennials. Ayan, miyembro pa ba tayo ng millennials? Sino yung mga millennials sa audience dyan? Kaway-kaway. All right. Let me just, because I think I'm having a hard time with with my computer. Okay. Because, okay. So there. Okay, let me just read your comments before we start. Okay. Hi, Mark. Thank you so much for tuning in. Hi, Mom. Hi, Mom Hazel. Good evening po. Thank you so much for tuning in. Hello, Lawrence. Thank you so much for constantly watching. I always see you in the audience. Thank you. Thank you so much. Your channel is very informative. Oh, wow. Thank you. Hope you can also share the videos just in case you want to. And also, we are committed to make a difference. But the question is, are you one of us? Nax, para commercial yun. Commercial yun in the 90s, di ba? Okay, so let me check kung tama. Kasi I mentioned earlier about percentage. Okay, so 40% daw ang population. So anyway, why is it that I'm going to talk about the millennials on the first episode of Business Thursdays? Kasi a lot of people have been asking me, why are millennials now so difficult to work with? I'm like, is that's a generalization? That's somehow a very offensive generalization because not everyone is hard or difficult to work with, di ba? Okay, wait lang ha. I need to read this. I need to confirm how many are we in the workforce. So we have at least around, so 2016 pa pala yung nanditong. Okay, so 45%. As of 2015, 45% ang millennials sa workforce. Just imagine that. Okay, so kaya malaking populasyon po ang millennials sa workforce. Kaya hindi natin sila pwedeng i-ignore. We cannot ignore them because they're basically everywhere. Okay, let me also greet, okay, from Mark. Shout out to all Public Alert Response Monitoring Center, Dagupan City, Danlord, Jeff, Marvin, and Marvin Tepons. Thank you so much. Hey guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you, thank you. It's a pleasure having you around in the audience. If you can also post your shout outs or you can also post your comments or kahit good evening lang, masaya na tayo dyan para makita lang natin kung sino mga nasa audience, sa live audience. Okay, so let us, okay, so syempre nawala ng internet yung isa kong gadget. Hindi ko talaga maintindihan kung anong nangyayari ngayon sa sa ano ko, sa laptop ko or something. Or I think it's my internet connection that's not working really well. Oo, ano yan eh, 'di ba? Commercial yan ng yung Are You One of Us? 'Di ba yun yun? Ginaya, ginaya ko pa yung boses. OMG, hindi gumagana yung internet ko. Let me see. Hindi nga gumagana yung internet ko. Only my other laptop, only my other um only my other gadget is working. So let me just fix this. I have been encountering um, issues with my internet connection. So hopefully I will be able to pull this off because it's my first episode for Business Thursdays. Oo, may feelings na talaga. Ganun talaga. Kasi nga commercial siya, diba? Okay, let me refresh my connection in my other gadget, on my other gadget. Because I will be showing a presentation. So, dapat naman syempre nakikita ninyo, di ba? Sayang naman ang effort na ginawa siya for nothing. Okay. So, hopefully it will load. It did not. Okay, let me just hope it works. Okay, it does. Thank you. Gumana na siya. Okay. Okay. Pero this one is already working, right? You can already see the presentation. Sana it's already working. Okay, so we'd like to greet. Hello po, ma'am. Thank you so much for tuning in. God bless din po. Thank you, thank you. Hi, Pau. Although your comment is not showing because I think it's a GIF. Pero hi, thank you so much for tuning in. Hindi pa rin ba gumagana? Sana gumagana na. Ano ba yun? Launch pa naman ng Business Thursday, so parang feeling ko, dapat ito yung pinakamagandang episode, pero whatever. Things happen. Hi, Mar. Thank you so much for tuning in. Hi, hi, hi. Okay, so again, our topic for tonight is all about Business Thursdays. And sorry, our theme for tonight is Business Thursdays. This is the first episode ever of Business Thursdays, and we are going to talk about a very controversial topic, which is working with millennials. This has been one of the most requested topics ever since I started the podcast episodes, but I was saying that no, I'm not so comfortable to talk about it yet because I think people will be like freaking out. Why are we talking about millennials, and why do they feel like they're being put in a bad light? But let me tell you this: I'm also a millennial. And we will know later on who are the millennials. Kasi yung iba nagkiklaim na millennials sila. Yung iba naman, feeling nila, millennials na sila. So, hindi eh. Hindi ganon. Akala nyo lang yun. Okay, so we will be starting our conversation. Once again, to those who don't know me yet, if it's your first time on my channel, welcome. I'm Ivorine. I'm a licensed real estate broker in the Philippines. I'm also a motivational speaker and a writer. And every single night we have podcast episodes. And each of the podcast episodes has a theme. So tonight is the launch of Business Thursdays. This used to be, sige nga, kung lagi kayo nanonood, ano yung Thursday theme natin? O yung mga top fan dyan? Ano yung dating, ano yung dating theme ng Thursdays? Diba? Ano yung dating theme ng Thursdays natin? So, again, tonight is the launch of Business Thursdays, and every single Thursday, we are going to talk about topics in the business industry or in the business sector or in the workplace. Yan, para generic, no? Whether you're working in a public entity or a private entity, then we are going to talk about those topics in the workplace. Hindi thinking Thursdays, ayan, mawawala yung badge mo. Hindi thinking Thursdays. No, no, no. Ayan siya, oh, nakalimutan. Pag thinking, di ba sa Tuesdays yon? Hindi pa rin. Ay, hindi pa rin po ba gumagana yung sounds ko? Is that what we meant po ba? Talagang sobrang bagal lang ng internet ng kabilang gadget ko. Medyo strange. Okay, so, nag-i-spray yung ating... Biglang nag-spray sa... Ano? Ano bang nangyayari sa Thursday ko? Buti nilang planchado ngayon yung buhok ko. At least may isang bagay na hindi messy. Okay, so let's first talk about the multi-generations in the workplace. Who are these people? Why do we always have conflicts in the workplace? And one of the reasons why we always have conflicts in the workplace is because we have multi-generations. So kilalanin natin isa-isa yung multi-generation, sino-sino sila. Yung pinakauna, ay nga talagang gumana, ay yung mga traditionalists. So there are still some traditionalists or trads. Meron pa rin mga trads na nasa workplace, so they are still in the workplace, but their age, ito, yung age nila. Let's have their ages. Okay, para sure ako na tama ang referencing ko kung sino yung mga trads. Okay. So the trads is they were born before 1946. So meron pa rin yatang mga trads in the workplace pero hindi na sila yung para mag-hard work kasi nga if they were born in 1946 or before 1946, how old are they now? So mga nasa 75 na sila. 7 days. Ayun! Tama na. Random Thursdays. Diba? So, instead of random Thursdays, we are now changing to business Thursdays. Kasi ang dami nagre-request na dapat daw merong business-related content. Okay. So, traditionalists, these are the 70-ish people in the workplace. Meron pa rin mga ganito kasi minsan yung mga CEOs, diba? Mga trads sila. Minsan yung mga consultants or yung mga board of directors, they are traditionalists. Some of them, not all. Okay, and then we have the baby boomers. Meron bang baby boomers in the audience? So who are the baby boomers? They were born in 1946 to 1964. So if you are watching this and you were born from 1946 to 1964, you are a member of the baby boomers. And why are they called baby boomers? The reason for that is because it was after the World War II. Kaya tinawag silang boomers kasi after the boom. Kasi di ba war? So, yun talaga yung explanation for the baby boomers. And I'm not sure if there are other explanations, but that's why they're called the boomers because they were born after the war. And then we also have those who were born after the baby boomers. They are called the Gen Xers or the Generation X. They were born from 1965 to 1979. Meron bang Gen X dyan sa audience? Kaway-kaway naman. Feeling ko, ayaw umamin ng iba. Itong Gen X, ang mga naabutan nito, yung mga cassette tape. Diba? Cassette na tape pa. So, kung Gen X ka, alam mo na hindi pwedeng sabihin na cassette tape. Kasi ang ibig sabihin ng cassette ay tape. Ayan. Itong Gen X, ito pa yung mga yung laging may dalang pen para kapag na-stuck yung cassette, pwedeng ikutin yung ano ba tawag doon? Yung parang hole ng cassette. 'Di ba kasi na-stuck yun? Pag na-stuck yun, kailangan mong ikutin ng pen. O, yung mga nakarelate dyan, mga Gen Xers natin yan. So, they were born from 1965 to 1979. Oh, hello, Sir Noel. Thank you so much for tuning in. O, yan, umamin si Sir. Oh, mighty and proud, mga Gen Xers, kaway-kaway. Thank you so much. Alam na alam is 5 pesos roll it. Ano yun? Ano yung 5 pesos roll it? Pero di ba yung 5 pesos noon, yung kulay ano pa? kulay green. Tama ba? Yung 5 pesos, yung kulay green, yung paper. Kapag i-rewind ang tape, totoo, pwede 5 pesos? Kasi nga, yung 5 pesos nga noon is sa paper bill, tapos i-roll mo siya, tapos pwede ka mag-rewind ng tape. Ayan. O, di nagkaalaman tayo ng mga edad natin. Okay. Yes, I used to do that gamit ang pen. Oh, hello! Thank you so much for tuning in. I think it's my first time to see you around. Thank you. Hope you will stay to the end of the conversation. 5 pesos. Yes, it's green. Oo, tama ako. Yay! Naalala ko pa. Kasi ngayon yung 5 pesos looks like 1 peso already. So, medyo, nung last time I was called by the cashier, sabi sa akin, Ma'am, ang dami yung binigay na 5 pesos. Parang ako, piso naman yung binigay ko. Tapos, my God, 5 pesos pala yung binigay ko. So, maraming 5 pesos yung binigay ko kasi akala ko piso sila. Cause, they look the same. Anyway, hindi sila yung topic. Naging topic yung barya. Okay, so, Gen X. Tapos, ang susunod dyan ay Millennials. Okay, eto na, without Google. Anong taon ipinanganak ang Millennials hanggang anong taon sila ang Millennials na tinatawag natin? From what year to what year? Okay, sige, hanapin natin yung mga Millennials. Yung balot ng bubblegum. Uy, totoo yun, yung balot ng bubblegum. Kasi ang tigas ng balot ng bubblegum, no? Naalala ko yung bazooka, no? Bazooka, OMG, bazooka bubblegum. O yung millennials, kaway-kaway kayo dyan. What year? Kung millennial ka, anong year ang millennials pinanganak? From blank to blank, without using Google. Having problem? That's okay, Sir Noel. Makinig ka lang, masaya na ako. Basta dyan ka sa audience. Di ba nga yung ballpen? Correct, ballpen. Okay, so millennials, from what year to what year? Siyempre may delay, di ba? Hindi tayo masyadong real time kasi may delay ng konti. Bazooka yung may 1980. Hindi ko get. Hindi ko alam. Okay, so yung millennials, they were born from 1980 to 1994. Although in some resources, nag-iiba-iba. Sabi nila, yung millennials daw is 1985 to 1995, yung iba naman 1980 to 1990. So, iba-iba yung references, nag-iiba-iba yung year. Pero millennials in this conversation, let's just label them millennials if they were born from 1980 to 1994. So, kung pinanganak ka sa mga taong yan, ang tawag sa'yo ay millennial. And then, of course, meron pa tayong mga mas bata. Okay. Pero nasa workplace na rin sila. Tinatawag silang Gen Z. So, yung mga teammates ko, kaway-kaway, I think nasa audience ba kayo? Nasa audience ba yung teammates ko? So, I have a very young team. I'm the youngest. Okay. So, Gen Z. Gen Z were born from 1995 to 2010. So if you were born from 1995 to 2010, please stop calling yourself millennials because you are not a millennial. You are actually a member of the Gen Z. Tapos kung pinanganak naman from 2011 onwards, ang tawag na po sa kanila ay Generation Alpha. But why am I talking about 5 here? Kasi ito pong 5, sila po yung nasa workplace. Hindi ko na po isasama yung, ano ba tawag dito? Yung Generation Alpha kasi wala pa po sila sa workplace. Kasi 2011 pa lang sila pinanganak. So, technically, they're just 10 years old at this time. So, we are not including them in this conversation. So, sila yung mga generations natin in the workplace. So, every generation in the workplace has a different approach to work. Kaya nagkakaiba-iba. So sisimulan ko yung conversation natin with the millennials, and then later on we can also talk about other generations in the workplace. If you're interested, post them there so that we will be doing an episode. We'll also be doing an episode for other generations. Okay? So, millennial ang pag-uusapan natin ngayon kasi nga, millennial ako. Part ako ng millennial society. Okay? So, let's do this. Ay, naghahang talaga yung connection ko. Bazooka Joe. Bazooka Joe, oo nga. Okay. So, millennials pala ako, 1980, mga new wave. Ay, oo, correct. New wave era. Using manual reminders for rewind if hinahanap yung songs na gusto mong patugtugin. Correct, correct. Sa ngayon, how do we call them? Who? Who do we call what, sir? COVID generation. Ay, grabe. Oh, yung mga bagong panganak, no? Kasi pinanganak sila in an era of, in an era where when the pandemic is at its peak. Okay, so anyway, so we have the multi-generations in the workplace, and one of the reasons or one of the factors that affects relationships in the workplace is because we have multi-generations. And I have been teaching about the multi-generations for the past 5 years na siguro ako nagtuturo about the multi-generations. How do we understand them, and how do we really make our workplace more conducive for the different generations, and how do we make them work together? Kasi yun yung problema eh. Madalas nagkakabangga-bangga yung iba't ibang generation because they have a totally different perspective about work. So tonight we are going to talk about the millennials. Okay. Nagahang talaga yung signal ko. Okay. So, and I have a very low laptop, so iaangat ko para hindi naman ako masyadong nakayuko. Okay. So the perceived challenges in working with millennials. Perceived lang ha, kasi hindi ko sinasabi na ito talaga yun. Kasi depende nga sa perspective ng mga nag-a-assess. So tonight we are going to talk about the perceived challenges in working with millennials and why are they perceived as challenges. The first one is they have irregular working hours. So the millennials do not stick to the 8 to 5 routine. Bibigyan ko kayo ng very short history about 8 to 5. Okay? Because the 8 to 5, by the way, bakit nga ba tayo merong 8 to 5 jobs? In the advent of the Industrial Revolution, alam naman siguro natin tong Industrial Revolution, it started at a time when there were already manufacturing industries. Kaya siya Industrial Revolution. So, no Industrial Revolution, syempre, kung nagma-manufacture ka ng anything, you have to implement time and motion. Pag sinabi nating time and motion, then we have to have a certain output at this time of the day. So, kaya kung 24 hours ang operation ninyo, meron 3 shifts para lang matapos, let's say, may mina-manufacture na sasakyan. Syempre, hindi po pwedeng huminto yung manufacturing nun just because hindi ka available, or just imagine irregular yung working hours. Paano matatapos ang isang kotse? And during that time, it was, I think in the 1950s, yung Industrial Revolution, if I'm not mistaken. So, dahil nga doon, hindi naman pwedeng magkaroon ng irregular working hours. So, ang nangyari nun, kailangan nilang magkaroon ng 3 shifts. So, merong 8 to 5, etc. para matapos nila ang isang kotse. And we are talking about an era where there is no computer yet. So, dahil wala pang computers, talagang mano-mano lahat, and then everyone has to be producing, everyone has to be performing para matapos ang isang, let's say, kotse. Okay? Pero as the years went by, hindi nawala yung shifting schedules. Okay, shifting like merong morning, merong daytime, merong nighttime, then merong mga mid-shifts. 'Di ba? So ngayon alam natin yung mga shift na yun kasi nga ginagamit pa rin siya sa workplace. However, nung nagkaroon na ng mga millennials in the workplace, dahil nga nag-iba yung working field, okay, nagkaroon tayo ng irregular working hours. Ano ba yung irregular working hours? Paano nagkaroon nun? Millennials, during the time of the millennials, the gig economy started. Yung gig economy, ang ibig sabihin nun, ito yung mga tinatawag na, uy, may racket ka ba dyan? Sige, racket tayo mamaya. Ganon. So, the rackets are actually called a part of the gig economy. Hindi siya mga full-time jobs. So dahil hindi full-time jobs, merong irregular working hours. Kasi kung kailan lang nila kailangan, kung kailan lang sila creative, kung kailan lang nila gustong gawin ang isang bagay, meron silang mga creative working hours. So, nagkaroon ngayon ng irregular working hours. And if you are someone older who got used to the 8 to 5, 9 to 6 shift, and then you are working with a millennial, very challenging na makipag-usap sa millennial, tapos magte-text sila sa'yo minsan alas 10 ng gabi, ganyan. Kasi nga, kung kailan sila magkaroon ng creative juices, doon sila magpa-function or doon sila mag-work. And then we also have technology dependency. Okay, bakit siya challenge? Well, if you will remember what I told you about the years when the millennials were born, it was in the 1980 to 1984. Those were the years. In the 1980, nagsisimula na yung mga cellphones, di ba? Nagsisimula yung mga cellphones, nagsisimula yung mga computers, and in the middle of nine, late 90s to early 2000, nagkaroon ng surge yung internet. Diba? Yung mga modem dyan, hello sa mga nakakaalam ng modem na maingay, tapos abutin ka ng 500 years bago ka makakonect, yon. So, kung mapapansin niyo yung mga millennials, so pinanganak sila, wala pang masyadong technology, but because the millennials were also the first recipient of the internet and the advancement in technology, nagkaroon ngayon ng dependency ang mga millennials sa technology. And so, if you are an older generation who is not used to technology, may stress ka talagang makipagtrabaho sa millennials kasi ang mga millennials, they're tech savvy. Okay, gusto nila okay, I'm still there, right? Nakakaloka, nawawalan ako ng internet. Okay. And then we also have the non-traditional communication. Ano ba yung non-traditional communication? We have the traditional communication. If you are talking to a boomer or a Gen Xer, communication, or lalong-lalo na sa mga traditionalists, ang traditional communication involves physically talking to a person. Yun yung traditional communication. Gusto mong makausap yung tao, puntahan mo. 'Di ba? Ganun yun eh. Kung may namimiss kang tao, dalawin mo. Ganun yung traditional communication. Pero because the millennials were the recipients of the internet. Sila talaga yung nasa kalagitnaan nung transitioning ng internet, yung pagbilis from modem to fiber optics. Millennials yung nakaramdam nun eh. So, meron na silang mga non-traditional communication which involves yung mga, alam nyo to, MIRC. Oh, sinong nakakaalala? MIRC, Yahoo Chat. Ano ba yun? Yahoo Messenger pala. Yahoo Messenger. Yahoo talagang naunang mag-messenger eh. Ano pa ba? AOL. Oh, yan. Kung sino mga nakakaalala niyan. Di ba mga millennials ang unang gumamit niyan? Kasi these were famous or these were trending late 90s. Yung mga AOL, MIRC, tapos 'di ba nagkaroon na rin ng mga bago mag-Facebook, ano nga ba yun? MySpace, Friendster. So hindi na traditional yung communication. So we are already using several platforms to communicate with each other. No longer yung puntahan mo para malaman mo yung sagot. Hindi na ganun. Pwede ka nang mag-text. Okay, lalong-lalo sa Pilipinas, naging text capital tayo, di ba? Lahat text lang ng text. And then another perceived challenges in working with millennials is that they are overconfident. O sige, sabihin ko na kasama ko kasi millennial din naman ako. Sabi nila, kaming mga millennials ay overconfident daw. On what grounds? Yes, tinanong. Okay, bakit nga ba tinatawag na overconfident yung mga millennials? Well, because millennials are driven. And when we say someone is driven, they know what they want and they know exactly how to get there. They sound confident. And for some people who cannot process that certain level of confidence, it sounds as if nagmamalaki, tama ba yung Tagalog ko? Nagmamalaki kami dahil alam namin kung anong gagawin namin. Well, to tell you honestly, kaya confident yung mga millennials kasi nga, we know our way. Okay? Kung hindi namin alam, i-google namin, di ba? Ganun, yun ang pinanggagalingan ng confidence ng mga millennials kasi nga, we are leveraging, sarili ko, we are leveraging on technology. Parang, sa panahon ng mga millennials, bawal mo nang sabihin na hindi mo alam ang sagot kasi hello, meron ng Google. So, people are already expecting that you already know the answer to most questions. Kahit nga what is love, di ba? Pwede mong i-Google. Tama ba? Pwede i-Google, di ba? What is love? Tingnan natin kung anong sagot. Okay. Another perceived challenge in working with millennials is demands instead of requests. Okay, medyo guilty ako dito. Okay, kasi ang mga millennials nga, meron silang sarili nilang timeline. And when someone has his or her own timeline, what happens to that? So they tend to push people around to parang adjust with their timelines, which is actually somehow challenging naman talaga. Kasi nga, parang kagaya ko, minsan nagte-text ako sa mga teammates ko, kapag may naisip lang ako, like, 1 in the morning, ganyan. Hindi na kagaya noon na parang dapat magte-text ka lang during office hours. Pag may naisip ako, I will text my team any time of the day. So it sounds as if you are non-millennial, it sounds as if ine-expect ko na sasagot ka 24/7, which is not actually true. So ide-debunk natin yan. Yung mga millennials kasi we are very creative, we are very innovative. So nangyayari, parang nagiging demanding kami, but it's not really true to some. I'm not sure with other people. But yeah, so somehow nagiging demanding instead of request. Okay, and medyo guilty ako dito. But it doesn't have anything to do with being a millennial. It's just that I got used to talking because I talk for a living well. Diba? But another perceived challenge in working with millennials is talking over listening. Well, wala, hindi ko justify to. I talk more. Kasi nga, it's what I do for a living. But anyway, yeah. Talking over listening is a challenge because millennials always have this overflow of beautiful, wonderful, creative ideas. And ang tendency, kapag yun yung naiisip nila, yung mga tao parang, ano ba yan? Panay ang salita nito, hindi man lang makinig. Kasi nga, minsan may overflow ng ideas. O, yan, sa mga millennials dyan, bigyan niyo ako ng donut mamaya. I'm justifying. Okay. So, how do we really work and keep up with millennials? Okay. Ito kasi, bakit nga ba natin kailangan mag-work with millennials and bakit natin kailangan mag-keep up? Isa lang ang sagot dyan. Ako, in 2015, binasa ko kanina, in 2015, mamaya titingnan ko ulit kung ano yung the most recent update on millennials in the workforce. So, in 2015, almost half of the working population is composed of millennials. So, if you know how to work with them, you're gonna have a really awesome time. So, how do we work with millennials? The first one, and to feeling ko alam na ninyong lahat to, isang tip in working with millennials is to utilize their tech savviness. Since nga mahilig naman sa tech, yung mga millennials, edi gamitin natin yung kanilang pagiging tech savvy. 'Di ba? Kung saan sila magaling, doon mo sila ilalagay. And this is not only true to millennials, it's also true to anyone in the organization. Whatever is the strength of that person, you should definitely put that person there. Kung saan siya magaling, doon mo siya ilagay. Huwag mo siyang ilalagay sa isang lugar na hindi naman siya magaling. Because, di ba, sabi nga nila, even if a fish is the greatest swimmer in the ocean, if it grew up trying to climb a tree all its life, it will think that it is dumb. Kasi nga, isda siya, tapos papaakyatin mo ng puno, obviously, hindi niya magagawa yun because it wasn't built to climb a tree, it was built to actually swim. So, ganun din naman sa millennials. Kung saan sila magaling, dun mo sila ilagay, which is tech savviness. Another way to work with millennials is to validate. Validate. How do you validate? Kasi nga, di ba maraming mga tao yung parang, hindi nila masyadong na-appreciate yung mga kasamahan nila. But with millennials, you have to validate them. You have to tell them that you see them. So for example, if I'm working with a certain Juan in my workplace and he's a millennial, I will tell him, "Oh, Juan, you did a good job today." And that's a way to validate. It's a form of appreciation. It's an expression of appreciation. You appreciate the person. The more you validate millennials, the more they will work harmoniously with you because that's the generation that we grew up in. Remember, I mean, that's the environment that we grew up in. Remember that we are so torn between traditional and technology. So ang nangyari, we were always trying to keep up with everything. So parang lagi kaming naghahanap ng validation as a millennial. And I'm not saying na lahat ng millennials ganon, but a certain number of majority kailangan ng validation. And then next is recognition. Again, validation, recognition, almost similar sila, but recognition can mean can come in several forms. Recognition can come by monetary, it can also come in awards, it can also come in just compliments, diba? And reinforce. Whatever you are saying, you reinforce it. Parang kung ano yung sinabi mo, panindigan mo when you are working with a millennial. Okay, next is millennials are really good leaders. And I'm not saying this for everyone, okay? Again, whatever I say in this channel, always take it with a grain of salt. Meaning, you don't take everything. Maging mindful pa rin tayo because this is a very generic discussion. But all I'm saying is that millennials are also are also good leaders. Just give them the opportunity to do so. Remember, the millennials are very resilient in a way that they were born in a traditional environment. Suddenly nagkaroon ng internet, from typewriter, nag-evolve to electric typewriter, nag-evolve to computer, desktop computers, nag-evolve to laptop, nag-evolve to gadgets, to several gadgets ngayon. May mga tablets, iPads, and all. So yung mga millennials, very resilient talaga sila. So they definitely have the leadership quality. So let them lead. If they are, sabi nung, naalala ko yung isa kong client, sabi niya, you know what, you millennials, sabi niya pa sa akin, you millennials are so full of yourself. Sabi ko, oh, actually, that's very good. If we are full of ourselves, then we always want to prove ourselves. Diba? So, use that to your advantage. If someone wants to prove him or herself, then bigyan niyo sila ng pagkakataon, diba? Yung mga tinatawag nilang, ano ba to? Kalimutan ko yung salitang narinig ko, yung bida-bida. Pag bida-bida sila, hayaan mo sila. Bigyan mo sila ng opportunity maging bida sila. Because yung mga bida-bida talaga, for me I'm impressed to a certain extent ng mga bida-bida. Kasi ibig sabihin yan, meron talaga silang capability. Kasi the mere fact that they are confident enough to talk like that, meaning meron silang i-impart. Okay. So next is, you also encourage collaboration. If you have been working with a millennial for quite a while now, you will realize that millennials actually are not so keen on competition. Napansin ba ninyo? For example, yung mga brands ngayon na millennials ang owners, what do? They actually collaborate. Ba kayo mapapansin ninyo, kung nakita niyo na yung mga partnerships ko dito, di ba may nakalagay, Irene X, kung ano yung company. Di ba? So, millennials are firm believers of collaboration. Kasi noon, di ba yung traditional thinking is that if you can't beat them, kill them yata, yun eh. Pag hindi mo sila kayang talunin, patayin mo yung negosyo nila. Pero ngayon, because of the millennials, ang sabi ng millennials, if you cannot beat them, well, collaborate with them. Huwag mo silang kalabanin kasi kung pag kinalaban mo sila, mag-share kayo, 'di ba? Magkakahatian kayo ng market share. Pero pag nag-collaborate kayo, yung market share niya at yung market share mo, pwedeng mag-merge for a lack of a better word. So millennials are fond of collaboration. even in the workplace, they don't believe in competing with you head to head, or ano ba tawag doon? If they're not fond of that. What they're fond of is asking you what you're good at, asking me what I'm good at, and then boom, mas maganda. Kasi kung saan ka magaling at kung saan ako magaling, dun tayo mag-partner, 'di ba? So collaboration is key in working with millennials. It's very good. Millennials are really good in collaborating, especially in the workplace, mga businesses, 'di ba? Maraming mga millennials ngayon ang nag-succeed because of collaborating, not competition. Competition is a very old game. It has been, it's in our genes. We are humans, we are prone, we are fond of competing, but millennials change the game. If I can't beat you, I'll partner with you. Ganon. So, collaboration. And of course, oh, hi Mark! Thank you so much for tuning in. Marami palang nag-message. Maraming naglabasan mga pasaway. May problem ang Globe. Nag-upgrade sila since kahapon pa by area. Kaya pala. That explains it. Nice to know, Miss Ice. Parang alam ko yon. Ang alin, Sir Noel? Hi Mark, thank you so much. And yes, yeah. Join them. Yes, collaborate. Okay, next tip in working with millennials is offer flexibility. And again, take this with a grain of salt. It's not applicable to all industries. Kasi syempre, for example, nagwo-work ka sa manufacturing industry, tapos binigyan mo yung millennial employee mo ng flexibility, kailan mabubuo yung mga binubuo nilang equipment. So, depende to sa work nila. So, offer flexibility in terms of time, in terms of giving their deliverables. So, flexibility. Again, I mentioned earlier bakit naging ganon yung mga millennials, kasi nga iba noon yung setup nung 8 to 5. Ngayon kasi dahil sa gig economy, nagkaroon tayo ng mga tinatawag na flexibility or flexible time or flexible schedules. Okay, ito din, this is very uniquely millennial. Work-life balance. I mean, when you grew up in the 1940s ba yun? When you grew up in the 1940s or 1950s, hindi to priority. Hello, work-life balance. May gera nga. Paano magkakaroon ng work-life balance? So, syempre, because of the generations evolving, nag-iba na yung playing field or nag-iba yung battlefield. Kung noon, gera yung kalaban nila. Ngayon kasi, ang kalaban naman natin is yung mga kapritsyo natin sa buhay. So, nagkakaroon tayo ng imbalance when it comes to work life. So, the millennials actually introduced the work-life balance, so that people will not be drained by burnout. Okay, and yeah, so that's the last. That's the last tip. So before I finally end this conversation, I'd like to share with you something, which is from from Ahmed Alandawi. He said that we need to challenge the negative narrative about young people and involve them in the solution. This is very nice coming from Ahmed, because he mentioned that we need to challenge the negative narrative about the younger ones. Kasi noon, naalala ko, when I was young, people are always telling me na, bata ka pa, wala ka pang masyadong alam. But every generation has its own learnings. So let's not discriminate people by their ages, and also let's believe that every person can actually share something regardless of his or her age. And this is what I always say. Your age does not guarantee you anything. Your age does not justify anything. Your age is merely a number. It doesn't mean that you're old, you know everything. It doesn't mean that you're young, you know nothing. It really depends on the person, if that person is willing to learn beyond his age, or if that person is constantly willing to learn more, diba? To learn more about what's going on in the workplace or even around him, sa environment niya, sa community niya. So I really encourage the younger ones to challenge the negative narrative. Patunayan natin na we are not our age. Okay? hindi porke bata pa tayo, wala tayong masyadong alam, or hindi porke mas matanda tayo, mas marami tayong alam. That's not true. Okay? So, hopefully I was able to ayan. Okay, so hopefully I was able to share something about the millennials. I hope I did you justice, you guys, yung mga millennials dyan. Thank you so much for tuning in and for joining this conversation. But again, there's no such thing as the best generation. Walang ganon. Um, Kada generation may pros and cons. But at the end of the day, what we have to remember is that we all have the opportunity and the capability to develop ourselves regardless of our generations. Hindi naman kailangan na tumanda ka muna bago mo malaman yung mga bagay-bagay, or hindi naman kailangan na pag mas bata ka, dapat wala ka masyadong alam. Wala namang ganun. There is no age requirement to learning. So, as much as you can, learn. And so, when you learn more, sabi nga ni Dr. Maya Angelou, when you know better, you do better. And that's the beauty of technology. Information is already accessible. In fact, there's an overload of information. It's up to us how we will be teaching ourselves to get those information and use them to our advantage. Oh, thank you. Thank you po. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you po, Miss Evie. Thank you so much for tuning in. Ayun. So also, I hope to encourage and inspire the younger audience, yung mga non-millennials, yung mga Gen Z dyan, na ang tawag pala ay Zoomers. Okay, just in case you don't know, Gen Z are called Zoomers. So, later on, I will also be talking about the other generations in the workplace, so that, it's the more we explore about the different generations, the more we understand why they act like that, or why they talk like that, or why their behavior towards work is like that. The more we understand people around us, the more the easier it is for us to work as well. Wag natin masyadong ini-stress yung sarili natin sa workplace. Let's do our best to manage our expectations by learning more about our colleagues. Okay? So hopefully I was able to share some insights about the millennials, and hope you also learned an insight or two from our conversation tonight. And by the way, tomorrow I will not be online because I have a meeting at 8 p.m. So I will be seeing you on Saturday for Servicio Sabado. I will be back for Servicio Sabado, by the way, kasi parang ilang Saturdays na akong wala. So I will be seeing you on Saturday. If I will be online tomorrow night, it will probably be earlier than 8 p.m. I'll let you know. I'll keep you posted on my channel. Thank you so much, everyone. Stay safe, stay healthy, and God bless you all. Bye!